When we were working on the S159 wedges, our main goal was to create a shape that really inspired players of all abilities, really working with the tour players on the front end to get their feedback on the shaping and the elements that are really important to them to see it addressed, to have that level of confidence. I was working with players, going out to events about once a month, taking different prototypes and printouts, and getting feedback from all the best players in the world. So one of the common themes that we heard from these players was they wanted to see a little bit less offset and a little bit straighter lead edge. So we went through a lot of different iterations and combinations of lead edge straightness and offset, and we landed on where we are now with the S159 wedges of a slightly squarer lead edge, reduced offset, and that offset is consistent through the set of wedges.
When it comes to the S159 wedges, what I was looking for in that new wedge is that I really like the straighter leading edge look when you put it down at the bottom. I'm not a big fan of the huge curve at the bottom, so that straight line really sets up the club nicely right next to the ball.
With the S159 wedges, we have 6 grind options, all of those being in the lob wedges. We find that to be the most important area to have different options, because as you get in those lower speed shots around the greens, you really have more differences in technique, how players like the club to perform through the ground, what flights they're looking for. We have 2 new grind additions with the H and the B grinds. The H grind is a great option for players that are looking for versatility around the greens, but may play in slightly softer conditions, or they're looking for something that has a bit more forgiveness on more square face distance wedge shots. The B grind is a great option for players that like to play shots around the greens with a more square face. They want the lead edge to sit tight to the turf, but this through the grind allows them to generate height and spin around the greens because of the wider sole configuration.
It's always nice looking down and you like what you see. It has the feel that you like. I think the H grind is certainly going to help in the bunkers. Just having a slightly wider sole, being a low bounce player with the lob wedge, bunker shots sometimes can be a little bit awkward because the bounce is there to help you in the sand, and so not really having that makes it a little bit more challenging, but having the wider sole and a couple more degrees bounce will help. Then outside of the bunker, even though it has a little bit more bounce, it still sits pretty tight to the ground, which is nice when you need to open it up for those times when you short side yourself.
Spin is a critical part of wedge performance. We're looking at a variety of different elements when it comes to the interaction between the golf club and the golf ball. We're maximizing the effectiveness of the grooves, the face blast, the face machining, and all of these things work together to give the golfer the maximum opportunity to generate spin, but also have very consistent spin as they get in different lies around the golf course. Whether they're playing early in the morning and there's a little bit of dew on the golf ball, or they're in the first cut of rough, our grooves and face configuration allow the golfer to have very consistent results no matter what lie they may encounter.
The importance of spin around the greens is obviously you need it when you play the tougher courses, when the greens get firm and fast. And it's all about how quickly you can really stop the ball, because when you miss the greens, the balls are just gonna roll and roll and roll and roll. But at the same time, it needs to be predictable. Doesn't matter if you can spin 1 ball out of 10 shots, they need to come out the same every single time. And I feel like these new S159s are really bringing that consistency, and it's easier to predict.